I've just been woken up and told that instead of moving out at first light, like we did this morning, we're going to be getting up at 3 o'clock, 0300, and moving back to the village where we were in yesterday. And we're going to be moving in now with both platoons on a seize operation, and we're going to be taking the village by force. So obviously, people are nervous about it, because of all the fighting that was yesterday. And they're excited, because it's going to be a very interesting day, I think. So I'm going to go to sleep now, because there's not much time before 0300, and we'll see what happens.
It's not long before we're all up and preparing ourselves for the long day ahead. We then take positions on the outskirts of the village.
Sorry that you can't see anything at the moment. You can't use any light, obviously, because we're just outside the village now. Pretty nervous because the Taliban are in there, and we're going to be basically advancing until they start firing at us.
As the sky begins to lighten with the impending dawn, we make our way into the village.
So we're just outside the village now. We're at the first compound, just waiting up, and then we're going to move further into the village itself.
A radio message comes through from the Estonian snipers who are watching our progress.
Alright, the snipers on the hill, they saw movement in the village, on the left side of the road there.
We occupy the first compound, and wait here while 2nd Platoon push into the compounds on the other side of the village. Captain Rob Jules speaks to one of the local men, who's talking about how the Taliban operate.
They said they didn't live here at night, they just come here during the day to fight.
No, just living here.
As the sun begins to rise, we get reports of activity further on in the village.
Jules, just had from the snipers on the high ground, basically they can see what looks like women and kids leaving out the back end of the village.
Like the fighting the day before, the departure of women and children often signifies that the Taliban are preparing to attack.
Whilst 4 motorbikes and a large group of people move to the northwest end of the village.
So at the moment we're still in a compound waiting to push further into the village. As you heard, the women and children are leaving the village to the north. They're being shepherded out by large groups of men, and also guys on motorbikes are coming from the northwest. So it looks like something's going to kick off.
We move deeper into the village, clearing one compound at a time.
I just came through. They're ready in the houses for us, and near the schoolhouse for the QRF and the fire support team.
When we go along, guys, you need to be aware of what's around you, yeah? Chances are it'll kick off close. Last time it was about 30 metres, alright? So if those guys are moving, you've got to be covering the compounds as you're going, or else attack will get taken on.
While we move up to the next compound, 2nd Platoon, who are on the other side of the village, make an interesting discovery.
They found a room and a compound and its toppers with training manuals, pictures of the grenades, how to throw the grenades, and just normal TTPs.
We also received some information from a local man.
Claim that bigger part of the fighters here are from Pakistan, and afterwards he said that the local Taliban commander here is recruiting fighters from Pakistan and accommodating them in this village here.
As we begin to push forward, the Taliban open fire on us.
Incoming on our call sign here now. Let's get yourselves in some cover, boys.
So we've just been engaged. We thought the Taliban left the village, and we started to move on, and we started getting small arms fire from over there.
Giles! Giles, with me!
Being the fire support controllers, it is important that Rob and Pete get forward to view the enemy positions, so that they can accurately call in artillery fire.
Compound Lima 8 Tango.
Come here!
I move up to where the Estonian soldiers of 1st Platoon are engaging the enemy.
So as you hear the snapping sounds you hear over us, incoming small arms fire from the Taliban, who are several hundred metres behind this wall, firing us. So you can hear the bullets going over our heads, stuff like that. At the moment we're pinning them down, so we can then call in artillery. So we can then call in artillery and take them out. So yeah, keep you posted.
Having spotted the enemy's position, Rob then warns the Estonian soldiers that he's calling in artillery fire.
Caesar! Yeah. I'm gonna fire artillery long and then start bringing it back. You need to let Yuri know as well. I'm going to fire artillery long and then bring it back.
Okay.
The artillery shells begin to land. So we've just had 10 lands, 10 artillery rounds land. The enemy have fallen silent for now, so we might have got them. We're just waiting to confirm now. We're going to drop a couple more on their position just to make sure. But yeah, they've fallen silent for a while now. Estonian soldiers then move up to the compounds where the enemy were firing from and begin to clear them. So as you see, this is the next compound that we've taken. We're slowly working our way through the village, taking compound by compound, pushing the enemy up to the north. The Taliban withdraw out of the north edge of the village, and we take up positions to hold the ground.
We suppressed the enemy, and now enemy withdraw. My IO said that the enemy is reorganizing now, and now we will hold this position. We will fix the enemy, and then we will see what the enemy will plan against us.
All fall silent for a few minutes as we take up defensive positions around the compound. We suddenly take fire from our left-hand side, which hits the branches of a small tree above my head. We then receive a disturbing radio message as to who fired the shots.
A radio conversation that one of the Taliban fighters is a young boy, aged from 10 to 12, dressed in black clothing, using a automatic rifle.
So they're using children to fight?
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
We've just been informed that the fire that obviously came down the alley and went above our heads was from a group of 4 or 5 boys, you know, between the ages of 10 and 12 roughly, who had like some machine guns and AKs, and they were firing at the compounds that we were occupying. You know, I mean, the fact that the enemy are using small boys to fight for them, you know, really, you know, I don't know what to say to that.
Having fired a couple of shots, the Taliban withdraw once again. At this time, we are not going to be holding the village on a long-term basis, which makes me wonder why we bother pushing the Taliban out when they can just come back in the moment we leave. Rob explains.
Yeah, the overall sort of aim of this is, although we're coming forward and we're trying to get the enemy on a back foot, so they set themselves up in a defensive line, so that then the Afghan National Forces, the ANA and the ANP, can set the conditions in the centre of Nadi Alley to stabilise, and if you allow the enemy to get close, then they can't do their job. So by pushing the enemy a little bit further back, we're just allowing them to hold the centre, and then we've got the Afghan face of the operation, so it's them achieving the security, but we're just giving them a bit of outer protection.
After several hours of inactivity from the Taliban, we leave the village and return to the police checkpoint. The manner of our departure today is vastly different to the way we left 2 days ago.
I think it went today very well, because we pushed the enemy out. Last time, as you know, they pushed us out and we got one injured guy, but today, quite normal.
Nobody is injured this time, but several soldiers had some lucky scrapes.
The Taliban shoot quite well.
Quite good, were they?
Yeah. They missed my head like this.
So they missed?
Yeah.
An RPG come in, hit the lav, and then it didn't explode.
One of the weapons recovered from the village is a World War II style machine gun.
Still working.
It's been pretty intense so far, you know, obviously all 3 days of the operation so far we've been under fairly heavy contact from the enemy, but you know, it's great that nobody has been seriously injured. You know, the only injury we've had was the gunshot wound to the calf that the medic guy had, and he's been medevaced fine out of here. So yeah, it's good, you know, everybody's in high spirits, and we're looking forward to the next part.
Smarting from their defeat, the Taliban start resorting to cowardly tactics.